Have you ever felt the stinging heat of disrespect? That moment when someone looks right through you, judges you, and decides you don't belong. Imagine being humiliated in front of hundreds of people, watching your personal property get treated like garbage by the very staff paid to serve you. That is exactly what happened to Dr. Alicia Reynolds on a rainy Tuesday morning at JFK. But the crew of Flight 714 made a fatal calculation. They judged her by her hoodie, not her history. They didn't know that the woman they were bullying was exactly 9 minutes away from owning the very plane they were standing on. This is a story of arrogance, instant regret, and the kind of aggressive karma that leaves a mark. Let's get into it. The fluorescent lights of JFK's Terminal 4 hummed with that specific, headache-inducing frequency that only frequent flyers seem to notice. It was 6:15 a.m., and the air smelled of stale coffee and damp wool. Outside, the grey New York sky was weeping against the glass, promising turbulence and delays. Greg Holloway, the senior gate agent for Horizon Air, adjusted his navy blue tie. He hated Tuesdays. Tuesdays were for the budget travelers, the crying babies, and the people who didn't understand that his podium was a fortress. He ran a hand through his thinning, gelled hair and looked at his watch. Boarding for Flight 714 to London. Heathrow was scheduled to start in 10 minutes. "Greg, the manifest is weird," Tiffany Sneed said, leaning over his shoulder. Tiffany was the lead flight attendant for the cabin crew. She had a sharp, angular face and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, a smile she reserved strictly for platinum members. For everyone else, she had a resting expression of mild disdain. "Weird how?" Greg muttered, not looking up from his screen. "Block on seat 1A. Corporate blocked it out an hour ago. No name, just priority hold. And the system shows a pending ownership transfer for the tail number. I've never seen that code before." Greg waved a dismissive hand. "Probably some FAA inspection or a deadheading pilot. Don't worry about it, Tiff. Just worry about getting the cattle onto the bird so we can push back on time. My bonus is tied to on-time departures this quarter." Tiffany straightened her scarf, checking her reflection in the darkened plexiglass. "Fine. But if they try to upgrade a non-rev, I'm vetoing it. I'm not dealing with rookie travelers in first today. I have a headache." At the back of the waiting area, far away from the priority lane, Dr. Alicia Reynolds sat quietly. She didn't look like the headline of a Forbes article, nor did she look like the woman who had just finalized a $4.2 billion hostile takeover of Horizon Air's parent company, Zephyr Holdings. She looked tired. She was wearing a charcoal grey oversized cashmere hoodie, black leggings and sneakers. Her hair was pulled back into a simple, practical bun. She held a lukewarm tea in one hand and her phone in the other. On the screen was a text message from her lawyer, David Sterling. "Ink is dry. The board just signed. Effective 7:00 a.m. EST. You are the majority shareholder. Congratulations, Madam Chairwoman." Alicia checked the time. 6:20 a.m. 40 minutes. She wasn't flying first class today to celebrate. She was flying to London to fire the CEO of the European division personally. She had booked the ticket under her maiden name to avoid alerting the press before the announcement. She just wanted a quiet flight, a glass of champagne, and 4 hours of sleep. She stood up, pulling the handle of her carry-on. It was a matte black Toomey roller, expensive, durable, and well within the size limits. She also had a leather tote bag. As the pre-boarding announcement crackled over the speakers, "We are now inviting our first-class passengers and Diamond status members to board," Alicia moved toward the lane. She was the first one there. Greg Holloway looked up. His eyes scanned Alicia from her sneakers to her hoodie. He didn't see the quality of the cashmere. He saw a hoodie. He didn't see a billionaire tech mogul. he saw a black woman in leisure wear trying to cut the line. "Ma'am," Greg said, his voice dropping an octave into that practiced, condescending tone airline staff use when they want to assert dominance. "Zone 1 only right now. General boarding will be called in 20 minutes. Please step aside." Alicia paused, her phone in her hand. She smiled, a polite, practiced smile. "I am in Zone 1. I have a seat in first class." She held her phone out to the scanner. Greg didn't look at the phone. He looked at her. He physically blocked the scanner with his hand. "Ma'am, I need you to step back. You're blocking the lane for our first-class passengers." Behind Alicia, a tall white man in a suit cleared his throat. He was tapping his foot impatiently. "Excuse me," the man said. Greg beamed at the man. "Right with you, Mr. Henderson. Just clearing the lane." He turned back to Alicia, his face hardening. "Step aside." Alicia felt that familiar heat rise in her chest. The heat she had felt in boardrooms when men interrupted her. The heat she had felt in high-end stores when security guards trailed her. She took a deep breath. "My name is Alicia Reynolds. I am in seat 2A. If you move your hand, I can scan my boarding pass, and we can all get on with our day." Tiffany Sneed, who had been watching from the jet bridge door, stepped forward. She crossed her arms. "Is there a problem here, Greg?" "Passenger is refusing to wait for her zone," Greg said, loud enough for the growing line to hear. Several people tutted. A woman in the back whispered, "Always trying to cheat the system." Alicia's grip tightened on her suitcase handle. "I am not cheating the system. I bought a ticket. Look at the screen." She shoved her phone past Greg's hand and scanned the QR code before he could stop her. Beep, beep, green light. The screen flashed. Reynolds, A seat 2A, first class. The silence that followed lasted only a second, but it was deafening. Greg stared at the screen, his mouth slightly open. He looked back at Alicia, his face flushing, not with embarrassment, but with anger. He had been proven wrong publicly, and for a man like Greg Holloway, that was an unforgivable offense. He snatched her passport from her hand, flipping through it aggressively. "I need to verify the ID match. The machine malfunctions sometimes." "It's a valid boarding pass," Alicia said, her voice remaining calm, though her heart was hammering. "May I proceed?" Greg didn't answer. He took his sweet time, staring at her photo, then at her face, then back at the photo. Finally, he shoved the passport back at her. He didn't say sorry. He didn't say, "Enjoy your flight." "Bag!" he barked. "Excuse me?" "The bag," Greg pointed at her Toomey roller. "It's too big. First-class bins are full." "Boarding just started," Alicia pointed out. "I'm the first one on. How can the bins be full?" "Crew bags," Tiffany interjected smoothly, stepping up to the podium. Her eyes were cold, predatory. She had sensed Greg's humiliation and decided to join the pack. "We have extra equipment today. The overheads in the front are reserved for operational use. You'll have to check that to your final destination." "This contains sensitive documents," Alicia said, thinking of the merger contracts and the hard drive in the front pocket. "I cannot check it. It fits under the seat if necessary." "It won't fit," Tiffany snapped. "And we don't allow hard shell cases under seats in first. Safety regulation. Hand it over, or you're not getting on." "That is not a regulation," Alicia said, her voice turning icy. "I fly this airline 3 times a month. That has never been a rule." "Well, it's a rule today," Greg said, smiling smugly. He reached for the handle of her bag. "Gate check. I'll print the tag." Alicia pulled the bag back. "I will carry it to the plane. If there is absolutely no room, I will gate check it at the aircraft door. But I am not checking it here." Greg and Tiffany exchanged a look. It was a look of silent communication between two bullies who realized they had found a target they could break. "Fine," Tiffany said, turning on her heel. "Bring it down. But if I say it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit." Alicia walked past the podium. As she entered the jet bridge, she heard Greg apologize to the man in the suit behind her. "Sorry about the hold-up, Mr. Henderson. Some people just don't think the rules apply to them." Alicia walked down the narrow, sloping tunnel. The damp cold of the jet bridge seeped into her bones. She knew she should just let it go. She was about to own the company. She could fire them both in an hour. But it wasn't about the job. It was about the dignity. She didn't know that the worst was yet to come. The entrance to the aircraft was congested. Tiffany was standing in the galley, blocking the aisle, ostensibly organizing a stack of napkins, but actually waiting. Alicia stepped onto the plane. The smell of recycled air and sanitizer hit her. She looked at the overhead bins above seat 2A. They were empty. Completely empty. Alicia looked at Tiffany. "The bins are empty." Tiffany didn't even look up from her napkins. "Reserved for pilot luggage, captain's orders, and the crew rest blankets are going in there." "There are no blankets there now," Alicia argued, lifting her bag. "Put that bag down." Tiffany's voice was like a whip crack. Passengers behind Alicia were starting to bunch up in the jet bridge. "I told you, you cannot use that bin. You are delaying the flight. Give me the bag." "I will put it in the closet then," Alicia said, moving toward the coat closet at the front of the cabin. Tiffany physically stepped in front of her, hand raised. "Do not touch our equipment. You are becoming a security risk, Ms. Reynolds. You are failing to comply with crew member instructions. Do I need to call the captain? Do I need to have you removed?" Alicia froze. She saw the glint in Tiffany's eyes. This wasn't about luggage. This was about power. If Alicia pushed back now, Tiffany would call the police. She would claim Alicia was belligerent. Alicia would be dragged off, recorded by 50 smartphones, and the video would go viral before the merger was announced. It would tank the stock price. New Horizon owner arrested for air rage. She couldn't risk the deal, not when she was 9 minutes away. Alicia lowered her hand. She exhaled slowly. "Fine, gate check it, but I need a tag, and I want to watch you put it in the chute." Tiffany smirked. It was the victory lap. "Greg!" she shouted out the door. Greg came trotting down the jet bridge, a bright orange gate check tag in his hand. He slapped it onto the handle of Alicia's Toomey, not bothering to loop it correctly. "Leave it there." Greg pointed to the metal platform at the end of the jet bridge, where the baggage handlers below would grab it. Alicia placed the bag down gently. "Please be careful with it. It's fragile." Yeah, fragile. Move to your seat." Greg dismissed her. Alicia stepped into the aircraft and sat in 2A. She didn't buckle her belt. She turned in her seat to look out the window. From 2A, she had a perfect view of the metal platform and the baggage belt below. She watched Greg stand by the open door of the jet bridge. He wasn't lowering the bag to a handler. He was holding it. He looked up, seemingly scanning the windows, his eyes locked onto 2A. He couldn't see her clearly through the glare, but he knew she was watching. He looked at Tiffany, who was standing in the doorway of the plane, laughing at something he said. Greg swung the bag. He didn't drop it. He didn't slide it. He threw it. He swung the $1,200 Toomey case in a high arc, over the railing of the platform, bypassing the baggage slide entirely. Alicia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The bag tumbled through the air, 20 feet down to the wet, oil-stained tarmac. It hit the ground with a sickening crack that Alicia could almost feel through the fuselage. The plastic casing shattered on one corner. The bag bounced once, skidding through a puddle of dirty water, and came to rest near the wheel of the tug. A baggage handler on the ground looked up, threw his hands in the air and yelled something at Greg. Greg just shrugged and laughed, turning back to walk up the jet bridge. Inside the plane, Tiffany was watching Alicia. "Oh no," Tiffany said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Looks like it slipped. Accidents happen. You can file a claim on the website. They usually deny them for gate-checked items, though. Liability waiver." Alicia sat back in her seat. Her hands were trembling. Not from fear, but from a rage so cold it felt like ice in her veins. She looked at her phone. 6:26 a.m. 4 minutes. She opened her messaging app. She didn't text her lawyer this time. She texted a number saved as Richard, Chief of Ops. Message, "Who is the captain on Flight 704? 3 bubbles appeared instantly. Reply, "Captain O'Malley. Good man. Why? Is everything okay, Madam Chairwoman?" Alicia typed slowly, her thumbs hitting the glass with precision. Message, "No, everything is not okay. Send a message to the cockpit via ACARS immediately. Priority 1, tell O'Malley not to push back. Tell him the new owner is on board, seat 2A, and tell him I want the manifest of the flight crew and the gate agents on my screen in 5 minutes." She hit send. Tiffany walked by, bumping Alicia's shoulder with her hip. "Buckle up, we're pushing back, and put that phone away. We're done playing games." Alicia looked up at Tiffany. The fear was gone from her eyes. The tiredness was gone. In their place was something that should have terrified Tiffany Sneed had she been paying attention. "You're right, Tiffany," Alicia said softly. "We are absolutely done playing games." Inside the cockpit of Flight 714, the atmosphere was calm, a stark contrast to the humidity and hostility of the jet bridge. Captain Patrick O'Malley, a veteran pilot with 30 years of flying under his belt, was running through the before-start checklist with his first officer, a sharp young man named Eric Danvers. "Hydraulics?" O'Malley asked. "Set and checked," Danvers replied, flipping a switch. "Fuel pumps? On. Beacon? On. Ground is clear. Tug is connected. We are ready for pushback, Captain." O'Malley nodded, reaching for the radio to contact ground control. He just wanted to get in the air. The weather was deteriorating, and he knew the turbulence over the Atlantic was going to be rough. He hated delays. Suddenly, the ACR's printer, Aircraft Communications Addressing and Reporting System, situated in the center pedestal, let out a sharp, mechanical whir-zet. It was the sound of a priority teletype message coming in from the company dispatch. Usually, these were weather updates or minor flight plan reroutes. But the printer didn't stop. It spit out a long strip of paper, then another, then a third. O'Malley frowned. What in the world? Is there a ground stop? Danvers tore the paper off and held it up to the dim map light. He squinted, reading the first line. His face, usually flushed with the excitement of the job, drained of color instantly. "Captain," Danvers said, his voice tight, "you need to read this. Now." O'Malley took the slip. The message was printed in all caps, the standard format for urgent aviation comms. From OPS Center, Richard Vance, Chief of OPS to Flight 714. Capt. O'Malley, priority. Critical, do not depart. Message, halt, pushback immediately. Hold position. New majority, shareholder and chairwoman of the board is on your aircraft. Alicia Reynolds. Seat 2A, transaction finalized 700 EST. She reports physical aggression and destruction of property by gate crew. She has requested immediate cockpit intervention. She is signing your paychecks as of 9 minutes ago. Advise caution. She is watching. O'Malley stared at the paper. He read it twice. Reynolds? The tech mogul? I thought that was just a rumor on CNBC. It's not a rumor anymore, Danvers whispered, pointing at the timestamp. It's official, and she's in 2A. O'Malley felt a cold sweat prickle on his forehead. He knew Tiffany Sneed was working the lead position today. He knew Tiffany was difficult. He had seen her make a rookie flight attendant cry over a spilled cup of coffee just last week. She reports destruction of property, O'Malley muttered, the gravity of the situation sinking in. If Tiffany or the gate guys messed with the owner of the airline— He didn't finish the sentence. He grabbed the interphone handset, the phone that connects the cockpit to the cabin. He dialed the forward galley. Ding dong. No answer. "Pick up, Tiffany," O'Malley hissed. In the cabin, Tiffany Sneed was too busy to answer the phone. She was standing over seat 2A, looming over Alicia. "I told you," Tiffany said, her voice loud enough for the first 3 rows to hear. "Phone, airplane mode. Now, we are pushing back." Alicia didn't look up. She was looking out the window, watching the rain pelt the wing. "The plane isn't moving, Tiffany." "It's about to move, and if you don't put that away, I'm going to write you up for non-compliance." "Do you know what that means? It means you get put on a list. You'll never fly first class again." Alicia slowly turned her head. Her eyes were dark and unreadable. "I seriously doubt that." "Oh, you doubt me?" Tiffany laughed, a harsh, incredulous sound. She looked around at the other passengers, seeking validation. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay. We have a passenger who thinks federal safety regulations are suggestions." Mr. Henderson, the man in 2B across the aisle, sighed loudly. "Just turn it off, lady. Some of us have meetings." The cockpit interphone chimed again. Ding dong, ding dong. Tiffany groaned, rolling her eyes. "Captain's probably wondering why the cabin isn't secure yet. Because of you." She snatched the handset off the wall cradle in the galley, her back to Alicia. "Yes, Captain," Tiffany said, her voice dripping with sugary sweetness, a stark contrast to the venom she'd just spewed. "Cabin is almost secure, just dealing with a difficult passenger in 2A, refusing instructions. Do you want to return to the gate to offload her? She's really disrupting the flow." There was a silence on the line. A long, heavy silence. Then Captain O'Malley's voice came through, not loud, but trembling with a suppressed intensity Tiffany had never heard before. "Tiffany, listen to me very carefully. Do not say another word to the passenger in 2A. Do not look at her. Do not breathe in her direction." Tiffany frowned, confusion clouding her face. "Excuse me? Captain, she's being—" "Shut up, Tiffany," O'Malley snapped. "I am engaging the parking brake. I am coming out there. If you have done what I think you've done, God help you." The line went dead. Tiffany stared at the handset. A flicker of unease started in her stomach. She hung up the phone slowly. She turned around. Alicia Reynolds was still sitting there, phone in hand. She wasn't texting anymore. She was just waiting. The engines, which had been winding up with a high-pitched whine, suddenly spooled down. The hum of the ventilation system dropped. The plane became eerily quiet. "Why are we stopping?" Mr. Henderson asked from across the aisle. Tiffany forced a smile, her hands smoothing her skirt nervously. "Just a minor technical check. We'll be underway shortly." But she knew it wasn't technical. The cockpit door, which was reinforced and locked for flight, buzzed. The heavy deadbolt clicked. The door swung open. Captain Patrick O'Malley stepped out of the cockpit. He was a large man, imposing in his uniform, with 4 gold stripes on his shoulders. Usually, when a pilot comes out during a delay, they look annoyed or weary. Today, O'Malley looked terrified. He walked past the galley. He walked past Tiffany, ignoring her completely as if she were a ghost. He walked straight to seat 2A. The entire first-class cabin went silent. Mr. Henderson in 2B lowered his newspaper. The business travelers in row 3 stopped typing. They all watched, expecting the captain to kick the trouble passenger off the plane. Tiffany crossed her arms, a smug look returning to her face. Here it comes, she thought. The boot. Captain O'Malley stopped in front of Alicia. He removed his cap. He tucked it under his arm. Then he bent down, lowering himself so he was at eye level with her, a posture of extreme submission and respect. "Miss Reynolds," O'Malley said, his voice clear and steady, though his hands were gripping his cap tightly. "I'm Captain O'Malley. I have just received the communique from operations." Alicia turned her head. She looked at the captain. Her expression didn't change. She didn't smile. She didn't look relieved. She looked like a judge waiting for a plea. "Good morning, Captain," she said softly. "I assume you know why we aren't moving." "I do, ma'am," O'Malley said. "I was informed that the final paperwork for the acquisition of Zephyr Holdings was signed at 7 a.m. I want to welcome you aboard, Chairwoman." The word hung in the air like a thunderclap. Chairwoman. Tiffany Sneed, standing 3 feet away in the galley, felt her knees buckle. The blood drained from her face so fast she felt dizzy. She gripped the counter to stop herself from falling. Mr. Henderson in 2B dropped his newspaper. His mouth fell open. He looked from the captain to the woman in the hoodie he had just told to turn it off. Alicia unbuckled her seatbelt. She stood up. She wasn't tall, but in that moment, she seemed to tower over everyone in the cabin. "Thank you, Captain," Alicia said. "However, I don't feel very welcome." "I understand, ma'am," O'Malley said quickly. "The message mentioned an incident with your luggage, and aggression." "Aggression is a polite word for it," Alicia said calmly. She pointed out the window. "Captain, would you please look out that window, down at the tarmac?" O'Malley leaned over the empty seat in 1A and looked down. "Do you see the black Toomey case near the tug wheel? The one sitting in the oil puddle with the shattered corner?" O'Malley winced. "Yes, ma'am, I see it. That contains the hard drives with the redundancy files for the transition of this airline's IT infrastructure." Alicia lied smoothly. It actually contained her personal laptop and some clothes, but she needed to drive the point home. "And your gate agent, Gregory Halloway, threw it off the jet bridge balcony. He didn't drop it. He threw it. Like a frisbee, because he didn't like my tone." O'Malley closed his eyes for a second. He was imagining the lawsuit. He was imagining the FAA report. He was imagining his pension vanishing. "And," Alicia continued, turning her gaze slowly toward the galley, where Tiffany was now trying to make herself as small as possible. "Your lead flight attendant, Mrs. Sneed, told me it was my fault. She threatened to have me arrested. She told me I was a security risk because I wanted to put my bag in an empty bin." Alicia took a step toward Tiffany. Tiffany was trembling. Her platinum smile was gone. She looked like a deer in headlights. "Miss Reynolds, Tiffany stammered. Her voice was a squeak. "I didn't know. I mean, you were wearing." "The system didn't say." "The system didn't say I was rich?" Alicia finished the sentence for her. "So because I looked like a regular person, because I looked like a black woman in a hoodie, you thought it was okay to treat me like trash? Is that the service standard for Horizon Air?" No, absolutely not," Tiffany cried, tears springing to her eyes. "It was a misunderstanding. The bins. I was just trying to save space for the pilots." "I didn't ask for space," O'Malley cut in, his voice booming. He turned on Tiffany, his face red with anger. "Don't you dare drag me into this, Tiffany. I never ordered you to block bins, and I certainly never told you to harass a passenger." O'Malley turned back to Alicia. "Ms. Reynolds, this is unacceptable. I am horrified. What do you want us to do?" Alicia looked at her watch. 6:38 a.m. First, Alicia said, I want my bag retrieved. Now. I want someone to go down there, pick it up, wipe it off, and bring it to me. And I don't want a baggage handler to do it. She looked at the jet bridge door. I want Gregory Holloway to do it. O'Malley nodded instantly. I'll call the station manager. No, Alicia said. Call the gate. Tell Greg to come to the aircraft. Tell him there's a problem with the load sheet. Just get him here. O'Malley grabbed the interphone again. He dialed the gate podium. Alicia sat back down in 2A. She crossed her legs. The cabin was deadly silent. No one was looking at their phones. No one was complaining about the delay. They were witnessing a public execution of a career, and they couldn't look away. A moment later, the sound of heavy footsteps came down the jet bridge. Greg Holloway burst onto the plane, looking annoyed. He held a clipboard. What is it now, Tiff? We're 10 minutes late pushing back. Is the load balance off? Greg stopped. He saw the captain standing in the aisle. He saw Tiffany crying in the galley. And he saw Alicia Reynolds sitting comfortably in 2A, staring right at him. Greg, Captain O'Malley said, his voice low and dangerous. We have a situation. What situation? Greg asked, looking confused. He pointed at Alicia. Is she still causing trouble? Do you want me to call the cops? I told her. Shut up, Greg, O'Malley said. Excuse me? Greg bristled. The woman you are pointing at, O'Malley said, gesturing to Alicia, is Alicia Reynolds. She is the new owner of Zephyr Holdings. She owns this plane. She owns the gate you're standing on. And effectively, as of this morning, she owns your ass. Greg froze. The clipboard slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the floor. He looked at Alicia. His eyes went wide, bulging slightly. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. He looked at her hoodie, then at her face. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The blocked seat, the priority hold, the text messages he had ignored on his break about the merger. Ms. Reynolds, Greg choked out. Mr. Holloway, Alicia said pleasantly. You seem to have dropped something, just like you dropped my bag. I, Greg stammered. It slipped. It was raining. The handle was wet. I saw you throw it, Greg, Alicia said, her voice dropping the pleasantry. I watched you, and so did the cameras on the terminal building. I already have security pulling the footage. Greg went pale. Now, Alicia said, standing up again. My bag is currently sitting in a puddle of oil under the nose gear. You're going to go down the stairs to the tarmac. You are going to retrieve it. You're going to clean it. And you are going to bring it to me and place it in the overhead bin where it belonged in the first place. Greg looked at the captain. He looked at the passengers staring at him. He looked at the steep metal stairs leading down to the rainy, cold tarmac. But I'm a senior agent, Greg whined, his ego making one last desperate stand. I don't do ramp work. Union rules say, I am the board, Alicia cut him off. I am the union's boss's boss. You have two choices, Greg. You can get the bag, or you can hand Captain O'Malley your badge right now and walk home in the rain. The silence stretched for 5 seconds. Greg looked at Tiffany, hoping for support. Tiffany looked away, wiping her eyes, trying to save herself. Greg's shoulders slumped. The arrogance evaporated, leaving just a small, petty man in a cheap suit. I'll get the bag, he whispered. Speak up, Alicia said. I'll get the bag, Mom, Greg said. He turned around and exited the plane, heading for the service stairs on the side of the jet bridge. Alicia sat back down. She looked at Mr. Henderson across the aisle. Sorry for the delay, she said. We'll be going to London shortly. Mr. Henderson swallowed hard. Take your time, Mom. Take all the time you need. The rain outside had turned from a drizzle to a steady, rhythmic drumming against the fuselage. Inside the cabin of Flight 714, the silence was absolute. The air conditioning hummed, but it felt like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. Alicia Reynolds turned her chair slightly to face the window. She wasn't doing it to be dramatic. She was doing it to bear witness. Below, on the grey, oil-slicked tarmac, Greg Holloway, the man who had felt like a king at the podium 10 minutes ago, was struggling. He had no umbrella. The wind whipped his cheap navy blazer around his waist. His gelled hair was plastered to his skull, rain dripping down his nose. He looked small. He looked pathetic. But Alicia felt no pity. She felt only the cold calculation of justice. She watched as he navigated the puddles in his dress shoes, slipping slightly on a patch of grease near the tug. He reached the Toomey bag. It was lying on its side, submerged in an inch of dirty runoff water. Greg bent down and grabbed the handle. He tugged. It didn't move. The wheel had jammed into a grate in the tarmac. He yanked it harder, frustration visible in his body language even from 20 feet up. With a final heave, he dislodged it, stumbling backward and splashing water up his trouser legs. Inside the plane, Tiffany Sneed was undergoing her own personal hell. She was standing in the galley, trapped. She couldn't go to the cockpit. The captain was furious. She couldn't go into the cabin. The passengers were staring. She couldn't leave. She decided to try the only tool she had left, civility. She grabbed a crystal glass and a bottle of the pre-departure champagne, Dom Perignon, usually reserved only for when the doors were closed. Her hands shook so badly, the bottle neck chattered against the glass rim as she poured. She walked to seat 2A. "Ms. Reynolds," Tiffany whispered, her voice trembling. I poured you a glass. It's the vintage. To apologize for the wait." Alicia didn't turn away from the window. She watched Greg trudging back toward the stairs, dragging the ruined bag. "Put it down," Alicia said, her voice flat. "I just wanted to make you comfortable," Tiffany pleaded, placing the glass on the center console. "I really am so sorry. You have to understand, we deal with so many difficult people. We get jaded. I didn't mean—" Alicia turned slowly. Her eyes were like flint. "You didn't mean what, Tiffany? You didn't mean to be rude? Or you didn't mean to be rude to me?" Tiffany froze. "That's the difference," Alicia continued, picking up the glass of champagne. She looked at the bubbles rising. "If I were a 19-year-old student, or a grandmother on a budget, or anyone else without a net worth of 10 figures, your behavior would have been exactly the same. You didn't make a mistake, Tiffany. You revealed your character." Alicia placed the glass back down, untouched. "I don't drink with people who look down on me. Take it away." Tiffany let out a small sob, a choked sound that made Mr. Henderson in 2B look away in second-hand embarrassment. She grabbed the glass and retreated to the galley just as the cabin door opened. Greg Holloway stepped back onto the plane. He was a wreck. His suit was soaked, dark patches of water spreading across the shoulders. His shoes squeaked loudly on the galley floor. He was breathing hard, his face flushed with exertion and humiliation. In his hand, he held the Toomey bag. It was in bad shape. The matte black finish was scraped down to the white plastic underneath. Mud and oil coated the bottom half, and the top corner, the corner that had hit the concrete first, was caved in. The zipper had burst open about 3 inches, exposing the grey lining. "Here," Greg panted, dropping the bag in the aisle next to Alicia's seat. "I got it." He wiped his wet hands on his pants, trying to regain some shred of authority. It's a little dirty, but it's fine." Alicia looked at the bag. Then she looked at Greg. "Open it," she said. Greg blinked. "What?" "You said it's fine," Alicia said. "Open it. Let's inspect the contents together. Since you were so concerned about the overhead bin space earlier, let's see what was so important that it had to be thrown off a bridge. I can't touch your personal items, Greg said, backing away. That's a liability. You threw my personal items off a 20-foot drop, Alicia countered, standing up. The liability ship has sailed, Greg. Open the bag. Captain O'Malley stepped out of the cockpit again. He stood behind Greg, arms crossed. Do as she says, Greg. Greg's hands shook as he reached for the zipper. He struggled with the broken teeth. With a rip, he forced the bag open and flipped the lid back. The cabin leaned in. Everyone wanted to see. Alicia looked down into her suitcase. Her clothes were jumbled, shifted by the impact. But on top, strapped into the laptop sleeve, was her MacBook Pro. The aluminum casing was bent into a U-shape. The screen was clearly shattered. Shards of black glass leaked out of the side. My laptop, Alicia said quietly. That contains the proprietary data for the merger. The company will replace it, Greg said quickly. We have insurance for electronics. Just file a claim. I'm not worried about the laptop, Greg, Alicia said. She reached into the bag, under the clothes. She pulled out a flat object, wrapped in a silk scarf. She unwrapped it slowly. It was a framed photograph. An old, black and white picture of a woman in a maid's uniform, standing proudly in front of a small house. It was Alicia's grandmother, the woman who had scrubbed floors so Alicia could go to college. The frame was antique silver, delicate and irreplaceable. The glass was pulverized. A jagged shard of glass had pierced the photo, gouging a deep scratch right across her grandmother's face. Alicia stared at the photo. The silence in the cabin changed. It wasn't just tense anymore. It was mournful. The destruction of a laptop is an annoyance. The destruction of a memory is a violation. Alicia ran her thumb over the silver frame. She felt a tear prick her eye, but she blinked it back. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her cry. She looked up. Her expression was terrifyingly calm. This, Alicia held up the ruined photo, was the only thing I carried on every flight. It was my good luck charm. It survived 4 years of law school, 10 years of startups, and 3 IPOs. She looked at Greg. And it took you 9 minutes to destroy it. Greg looked at the floor. I didn't know. Ignorance, Alicia said, placing the photo gently on her seat, is not a defense for malice. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. She unlocked it and dialed a number. She put it on speaker. The phone rang once, twice. This is David Sterling, General Counsel, a crisp voice answered. David, Alicia said. It's Alicia. I'm on flight 714. Alicia, congratulations again. Are you wheels up? No, Alicia said. We are at the gate. I need you to execute an immediate termination order. 2 employees, with cause, gross misconduct, destruction of company property, and destruction of passenger property. Greg's head snapped up. Wait, you can't... Name and employee numbers? David asked, his voice shifting instantly to lawyer mode. Alicia looked at Greg's ID badge hanging around his neck. Gregory Halloway, Senior Gate Agent. ID number 4922A Alpha. She turned to the galley. Tiffany was sobbing quietly into a napkin. And Tiffany Sneed, Lead Flight Attendant, ID number 883 Sierra. Got it, David said. I'm accessing the HR mainframe now. Give me 30 seconds. No, Greg shouted. He stepped forward, his face red. You can't do this. I have tenure. I have 15 years with this airline. You can't fire me over a bag. I'll sue. I'll sue you personally. You'll sue me? Alicia asked, raising an eyebrow. Greg, you are standing on my plane. You just destroyed my property, and you discriminated against me in front of 50 witnesses. Done. David's voice came over the speaker. "Termination processed effective immediately. Their badges are deactivated. Security has been notified." Alicia hung up the phone. She looked at Greg. "You don't work here anymore, Mr. Holloway. Please remove your badge." The reality of the situation hit the cabin like a physical wave. The passengers were stunned. They had seen bad service before, but they had never seen instant, corporate-level retribution like this. Greg stood there, mouth agape. "This isn't real. This is a joke." "It's not a joke," Captain O'Malley said from behind him. His voice was grave. "Greg, give me your badge. You are no longer an authorized employee. If you remain on this aircraft, you are trespassing on federal property." Greg looked at the captain. He saw no sympathy there. He looked at the passengers. Mr. Henderson was shaking his head, a look of, "You got what you deserved," on his face. Slowly, with shaking hands, Greg unclipped his ID badge. He handed it to the captain. "And you," Alicia said, turning to Tiffany. Tiffany came out of the galley. Her mascara was running down her cheeks. She looked devastated. "Miss Reynolds, please. I have a mortgage. I'm a single income. Please just suspend me. Don't fire me." Alicia looked at Tiffany. For a split second, there was a flicker of humanity. Alicia knew what it was like to struggle. But then she remembered the look in Tiffany's eyes when she blocked the aisle. The joy Tiffany took in the power trip. "You should have thought about your mortgage when you were bullying a paying customer," Alicia said softly. "People like you think power is a toy. You think you can use it to make people feel small because you're unhappy. Today, you met someone who has real power, and I'm using it to make sure you never treat another human being like that again." "Badge!" O'Malley commanded. Tiffany unpinned her wings. She unclipped her ID. She handed them over, sobbing loudly now. "Now," Alicia said. "Get off my plane. We need to get our bags from the crew hold," Tiffany sniffled. "No," Alicia said. "You are trespassing. You will leave now. We will mail your personal effects to your home address, just like you told me to file a claim for my things." Alicia pointed to the door. Greg turned around. He looked at the long aisle of first class. He had walked this aisle 1,000 times, feeling superior to the passengers, the gatekeeper of their comfort. Now he had to walk it as a fired, humiliated man in a wet suit. He started walking. As he passed row 3, a passenger, a young woman who had been recording on her phone, spoke up. "Bye, Greg," she said. Greg kept his head down. He stepped onto the jet bridge, into the cold air. Tiffany followed him, hiding her face in her hands, her heels clicking a mournful rhythm on the floor. When they were gone, the cabin was silent. Captain O'Malley turned to Alicia. He looked exhausted. "Miss Reynolds," he said. We have a problem. We can't fly without a lead flight attendant, and we need a gate agent to close the manifest. This is going to cancel the flight." The passengers groaned. Mr. Henderson sighed. "Great. Justice is served, but we're stuck in New York." Alicia smiled. It was the first time she had smiled genuinely all morning. "Captain," she said, "do you think I would fire a crew without a backup plan? I didn't become a billionaire by being unprepared." She picked up her phone again. "What is the status of Flight 299 to London? The one at the next gate?" It's cancelled," O'Malley said, confused. "Mechanical issue with the engine. They just deplaned everyone." "Exactly," Alicia said, "which means there is a full, fresh crew sitting in the break room at Gate C404, and they are currently on the clock with nowhere to fly." She tapped her screen. "I just messaged crew scheduling. They are reassigning Captain Miller's crew to this aircraft. They will be here in 4 minutes, and I've instructed the gate agent from C404 to come over and close us out." She looked at Mr. Henderson. We will be delayed about 20 minutes, but I think we can make up the time in the air." Mr. Henderson laughed. He actually clapped his hands. "Bravo! Bravo, ma'am." Alicia sat down. She picked up the shattered photo of her grandmother. She carefully wrapped it back in the silk scarf. "Captain O'Malley," she said. "Yes, Chairwoman?" "When the new crew gets here, tell them the bins in first class are for passengers, not for blankets." "I will make that very clear, ma'am," O'Malley said. He turned and went back to the cockpit. Alicia looked out the window one last time. She saw Greg and Tiffany walking across the tarmac toward the terminal building, escorted by a yellow airport security vest. They were walking in the rain. She felt a weight lift off her chest. She pulled her hoodie tight. She was ready to go to London. The flight to London was the smoothest flight 714 had ever experienced. The replacement crew, led by a delightful purser named Sarah, treated Alicia not like a celebrity, but like a human being, which was all she had wanted in the first place. When Alicia politely declined a meal to sleep, Sarah simply dimmed the lights and placed a fresh bottle of water on her console without a word. Alicia didn't sleep immediately, though. She sat in the darkened cabin, the hum of the engines vibrating through the floor. She looked at the empty seat next to her, where her grandmother's photo lay wrapped in the silk scarf. She thought about power. For years she had chased it. Money, influence, the ability to change things. But today, she realized that power wasn't just about board meetings and stock prices. Power was the ability to protect your dignity when someone tries to strip it away. As the plane began its descent over the sprawling, twinkling grid of London, Alicia felt a shift. She wasn't just acquiring a company to make money anymore. She was going to tear the culture of Horizon Air down to the studs and rebuild it. No more Gregs, no more Tiffany's. The viral storm. By the time the wheels touched down at Heathrow, the internet had already done what it does best. The passenger in row 3, a 22-year-old fashion blogger named Chloe, had uploaded her video to TikTok before the plane door had even closed in New York. She captioned it, "POV. You try to bully a black woman in a hoodie, but she owns the airline." Justice, karma. Horizon Air. When Alicia turned her phone on at the gate in London, the world had exploded. The video had 14 million views. It showed everything. It showed Greg's smug face. It showed Tiffany blocking the aisle. It showed the captain bowing his head. And most importantly, it showed the moment Alicia revealed her identity. The comment section was a war zone, but entirely one-sided. The way his face dropped when she said, "I am the board," needs to be studied in history books. Imagine throwing your boss's luggage. I would simply evaporate. The photo frame broke my heart. Fire them again. CNN, BBC, and Fox News were all running the story in their scrolling tickers. New airline owner fires crew on tarmac before takeoff. Alicia ignored the press requests flooding her inbox. She walked off the plane, bypassed the VIP lane, just to make a point, and met her driver. She had a CEO to fire, and she was already late. 6 months later. The hard karma justice is often swift, but karma, real, life-altering karma, is a slow burn. Gregory Holloway. Greg didn't just lose his job that rainy Tuesday, he lost his career. In the aviation industry, there is a database known informally as the Blacklist. It's a shared record among major airlines regarding employees terminated for gross misconduct or security violations. When David Sterling, Alicia's lawyer, processed Greg's termination, he flagged his file with a code. Level 4 security risk. Destruction of passenger property. Aggressive behavior. Greg spent the first month applying to Delta, United, and American. He didn't get a single interview. He spent the second month applying to budget carriers, Spirit, Frontier, even the cargo haulers. Nothing. By the third month, his savings were gone. The viral video meant that even non-aviation employers recognized him. He walked into a car dealership to interview for a sales job, and the manager laughed him out of the building. "You're the luggage guy," he had said. "I'm not letting you near my inventory." Today, Greg works at a massive e-commerce fulfillment center in New Jersey. He is not a manager. He is not a supervisor. He is a package sorter, Tier 1. His job consists of standing at a conveyor belt for 10 hours a day, grabbing heavy boxes and placing them gently into chutes. If he drops one, a sensor detects it, and his pay is docked. If he is slow, a light flashes above his station. Every day, he handles luggage. He scans Toomey bags, Samsonite rollers, and cheap duffels. He touches thousands of them, and every time he lifts one, he remembers the specific weight of Alicia Reynolds's bag and the 9 minutes that cost him everything. Tiffany Sneed. Tiffany's fall was social. Tiffany had thrived on status. She loved her uniform, her lead flight attendant badge, and the illusion that she was better than the passengers in economy. After the firing, she tried to pivot to social media. She made a tearful apology video on YouTube titled "My Side of the Story." In it, she tried to claim she was under stress and that the video was edited out of context. It backfired spectacularly. The internet detectives dug into her past. They found old tweets where she mocked passengers for their clothing. They found complaints from other flyers about her rudeness. The apology video was disliked 400,000 times in 2 days. She was doxxed. She had to move out of her apartment because people kept leaving broken suitcases on her doorstep. She eventually left New York entirely. She moved back to her hometown in rural Ohio. Last reported, Tiffany works as a receptionist at a dental clinic. It is a quiet job. She answers phones, she files paperwork, and every time a patient walks in wearing a hoodie or looking tired, Tiffany stands up, smiles a genuine, terrified smile, and offers them a bottle of water. She never judges anyone by their appearance anymore. She can't afford to. Alicia Reynolds. Alicia Reynolds did exactly what she said she would. She cleaned house. She fired the CEO of the European division. She implemented a new training program for Horizon Air called Dignity First. It required every employee, from baggage handlers to pilots, to undergo bias training. She also made a subtle change to the dress code. First-class passengers were no longer judged by their attire. The visual assessment rule was scrapped. As for the photograph, Alicia took the shattered remains of the silver frame to a master jeweler in London's Hatton Garden. The jeweler told her the silver was twisted beyond repair. "Melt it down," Alicia told him, "and mix it with gold." He created a new frame. It was stronger, heavier, and more beautiful than the first. He placed the photo of her grandmother, with the scratch across the face still visible, inside it. Alicia kept the scratch. She didn't digitally restore the photo. She kept it as a reminder that scars are proof of survival, a reminder of where she came from, and a reminder that no matter how high you fly, you never, ever look down on people, because you never know who's really signing the checks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of the most expensive 9 minutes in aviation history. It's a brutal lesson, isn't it? Greg and Tiffany didn't lose their jobs because they made a mistake. We all make mistakes. They lost their livelihoods because they lacked empathy. They saw a woman in a hoodie and decided she was worth less than them. They chose arrogance over kindness, and they paid the ultimate price. Alicia Reynolds didn't just buy an airline that day. She bought a lesson for all of us. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO or a server a pilot or a passenger, respect is the only currency that matters. And if you think you're too important to be kind, life has a funny way of reminding you just how replaceable you really are. What do you think? Was Alicia too harsh? Should she have given them a second chance, or did they get exactly what they deserved? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you work in customer service or have a horror story like this. If you enjoyed this story of instant karma and justice, please destroy that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story.